Thanks for coming. We're excited to be here. My name's Ben Cahoon, and on the program it says Rick German. Rick German's the CEO. He got called off to an important meeting, so you get me. I'm Ben. I'm the president of the company. We've also brought our technical guys. So we've got our architect, Tony Thompson. You want to raise your hand there, Tony? Kobe Gur's the product manager. And then we've got a marketing guy. We'll use him at the end for some fun, Greg Tan. So again, this is our first time at BriForum. We're excited to be here and talk to you about just a lot of things that we've been thinking about and working on over the past few years. So let me tell you a little bit about who Stoneware is, just to get so you understand who we are. Maybe, how many of you have ever heard of Stoneware before? Okay, just a few. So this will be hopefully some new information for the rest of you. Stoneware, we've been around for about 13 years, and we were acquired by Lenovo in 2012. We'll talk about why that happened here in a second. Originally incorporated in 2000, we have about 10,000 customers, 7.5 million users worldwide, and we have two claims to fame. One is the first web-based workspace aggregation platform, and we'll talk about what that means. And then we acquired Land School in 2011, which is a classroom management tool that really shouldn't apply. It probably doesn't apply to most of you in your day-to-day jobs. It may apply to the corporate training folks, but it's sold a lot into education worldwide. So those products have won a lot of awards over the years, but basically that's who Stoneware is. Lots of customers in all different markets, from public education to private businesses. Okay, so why did this big $30 billion PC OEM purchase this small startup out of Indiana? Okay, there's two basic reasons. One, Lenovo believes, and you can see all the studies all show this, that PCs and the growth in the PC market is basically flat. So their strategy is the PC Plus market. Now, here in the US, we don't know Lenovo for phones and tablets that much. But in China, they've had a very aggressive strategy towards PC Plus, and that'll be expanding worldwide. So they have really nice phones, like the nicest ones are the K900 in China. And you'll see those. It's been announced that those will start coming worldwide, and there'll be a PC Plus. The Plus really means all these other devices. Lenovo talks a lot about the 4 panes of glass, from televisions all the way down to your phone. So Lenovo purchased us because they see us as the glue in the middle, as that the cloud can be that companion-enabling piece. And Stoneware specifically has what we call a web desktop, and it becomes the UI for which a very consistent user interface to access across, if you're on your TV, all the way down to your phone. Okay? So the first reason they purchased us was we've got a commercial software business that we want to grow, and we'll be part of the Lenovo sales force and worldwide, and it takes us to a whole new level, and our software that we'll introduce to you will be a worldwide piece of software. The second piece is, just this week, Lenovo announced Lenovo Reach, which is their public cloud, and that's based on the software that we're going to show you today in demo. So we're really part of the two pieces of Lenovo, the public cloud, and then we also have commercial software that we sell. Okay, now I've been to a lot of these types of sessions. I'm a technical guy that went to the dark side and went into marketing, and so I've been to a lot of these type of sessions before, and as I look back over the years, there's not too many of them that are memorable, right? There's a few that you can remember. So I'm going to do my very best today to hopefully give you something that you can remember, and you may remember this presentation. Now, I'm not naturally up at this time of the morning when it's dark and it's 5 a.m. How many of you are morning guys? Okay, we got a few over here, so maybe this is more natural for you. But for me, 5 a.m. when it's dark outside, it's not natural to actually get up. It takes a lot of effort. But I do find myself getting up at 5 a.m. if I'm passionate about something that I'm doing, okay? And if I'm getting up at 5 a.m., I think it's a good sign to me that it's something that I care a lot about and I want to get doing it. So, to give you an idea, this is my son. Oh, whoops. This is about 10 minutes from our house. We live in Utah, so we drive up the canyon, we ride a snowmobile up to the top of the mountain, and we get that every single run. I'm passionate about that, and I'll get up at 5 a.m. to go do that. It's awesome, okay? This is a trip I took to Mount Rainier, where we climbed to the top of Mount Rainier, and probably the prettiest picture I've personally ever taken, I think. It was just absolutely gorgeous. This was about 6 a.m. We got up at 3, and the sun was just coming up. This is looking down on a glacier. It was absolutely beautiful. So I can get passionate about this, and I'll get up at that time. This is looking up at a crevasse going up Rainier. So that was about 100 feet deep, and the color was just this deep blue. Again, just beautiful. Now the purpose, I'm pretty much an adrenaline junkie, so if it's water skiing or snowboarding or windsurfing, I'll get up early to do that. Just to get an idea so we can get some interaction in the room, who has passions like these and be willing to share them? So who's got a passion they'd like to share with us? That you'd be willing to get up at 5 a.m.? Now we got to have, here we go. Cycling. Okay, road biking or mountain biking? Road biking. Awesome. Okay, what other things? Who do we have in this room? Come on, no passions? Oh, someone's got to have a passion. What's your passion?
I like doing a lot of the same types of things. So
okay.
Hiking.
Hiking? Over here, this side of the room. What are you guys passionate about? Fishing. Okay, I know a lot of fishermen, and people are passionate about fishing, and they'll get up early to go fishing. Anything else that someone wants to share? Just sort of the normal stuff. Who's got some crazy hobby or obscure thing that they'd like to share? Passion. No one? Okay. Well, the purpose was not to get together and talk about our passions, sort of our personal passions, but it's more to talk about work passion. Okay? And if you think about what you're passionate about at work, I would say if we asked our customers, our end users, what are we passionate about, how are they going to describe us? It's going to be these types of words, right? IT loves to control what I do. They like to manage what I do. They like to monitor what I do. And if there's one thing that over the past few years, and I think BriForum has, we're pretty much exactly aligned with them and the way Brian thinks about this, is that the iPad really has changed what our passion used to be, right? Our passion used to be, controlling, locking things down, but now our end users are demanding more, right? They want files from anywhere. They want access from home, vacation, wherever. They want to bring whatever device they want to use. And it really, I didn't think this was going to happen when I first saw the iPad. I was fairly unimpressed initially, but man, it has completely changed the world and this relationship between us and IT and our end users. Here's what I think our passion needs to be if we want to stay relevant. Simple, easy, choice, freedom. These are the things that our end users want. Just to get a couple questions. A couple questions in just a second. We feel that there's a new paradigm in IT, and it's been brought about the whole consumerization and mobility movements. And we look at things as living in the private cloud, the public cloud, and then things that are on your device. And we think that the new world is that end users, partners, employees, customers, they need things out of all of these places, right? They need things in the private cloud. You can all think of examples. You can all think of examples in the public cloud. And I still am going to want Excel to do detailed business planning. I don't want to use Google Docs yet. There's many times that I want to use Google Docs, but many times I'm still going to want to use Excel. So this new look of IT really presents some challenges. And just to, again, get some more interaction, how many of you, think back 5 years ago, okay, and how many passwords and usernames and identities you had, and then think of how many you have today, right? The world has changed. How many, let's go by show of hands, how many think they have more than 10 passwords, username and passwords? Okay, 25. Okay, 50. okay? Over 100. You may be surprised. The other day for a keynote I did, I went to a password manager that I've been using for years, and I counted up all the username and passwords that were in my password manager, and I had over 250 username and passwords. I was totally shocked. I would have been, maybe I had 50. So the world has changed, and our end users, it really makes things complex for them. So how many passwords, how many devices, right? We've seen this go from 1 to, how many of you have more than 3 devices? Okay? It's just, my kids have more than 3 devices. The world has changed. We've done a lot. I came with the Land School acquisition, so I've done a lot in education over the past 8 years. And it used to be, we used to have 1 computer lab in a school. And then there's been this big push to try to get 1 computer for every student. And what's happened, schools thought that would never happen because the funding just wasn't there. But what's happened is it's gone past that, because now every student's bringing a device, and they've got a device at school, and so we're over a 1-to-1 ratio. And that's just changed in the last few years. How many places do you store files? Obviously, it's in Dropbox, it's on your SAN, it's on your local drive, it's on your phone. We have files all over the place. And then how many web services and applications you use. This has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. Okay? And this creates a very complex world, and the goal, as I said before, I think our passion in IT needs to be able to simplify this. We have to be the smart guys that take this complex thing and make it simple, easy for our end users. And that needs, I would propose to you that needs to be our passion. Okay, we've talked a lot of, and Brian, we couldn't have a presentation at BriForum without this phrase, right? But we had our own experience with this, where we realized that our IT was jailbroken. So we create this product that we think makes things simpler for end users, right? We have a file, sort of like a corporate Dropbox. We'll describe all this to you a little bit later. But we thought we were doing a pretty good job at consumerization. Well, we had to sign some contracts. And our CEO, Rick German, came to us and said, look, we got to ensure that no customer data is out in the cloud. And he thought we were all using our own tool to get our jobs done. Well, when he sends the email out and starts digging, we have data all over the place. And he didn't, basically for him to feel good about signing that contract, it was basically a PCI compliance contract that said we have all our customer data in a certain location, right? It was not out in some hosted place. So we had to go out and get everyone off of Box, get everyone off of Dropbox, and really bring it back. But it was, the lesson for us was that, we can talk about consumerization and making things simpler, but man, we have to live it. We have to do a better job creating solutions that people want to use. So we came up with the phrase our IT was jailbroken. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we do and how we're trying to solve some of these challenges. So Stoneware, we have a piece of software called Web Network, and it allows IT to install software in your data center that helps create what we call a unified cloud. And that unified cloud, the goal of the unified cloud is to bring together the public cloud, the private cloud, and what's on that device, bring it all down together into a simple interface that users log in with one password, and they can get at the files, the applications, and the reports that they need with that one password from a browser. So it tries to address that simplicity where you're going to get the same interface, the same experience on whatever device that you use. And we really, because when we started the company, when Tony's one of the founders, when he started the company and Rick started the company, they really wear web-colored glasses, right? They believe at the core that the right way to deliver and solve these challenges is through the web. And so hence this web desktop. So to dig into this a little bit more, let's talk about the architecture. And then we'll get right into a demo. So here's the architecture of Web Network. And basically what happens is an end user hits a browser and they log in using their directory credentials. So, and we'll show you this again in a second. So they're going to hit what we call a web relay. And a web relay has, it can be a Linux, Mac, or Windows box, and it's running our software. And then that's going back through a secure pipeline over 443, back to the web network server where we've got some other software running. And that connects to your directory, to your databases, to your storage, and to your apps. Okay? So let's walk through the scenario. I'm a user, I log in. We can put two-factor authentication on that if needed. But when we go back and hit the web network server, it's going to check your directory credentials and see what group membership you have. So if you're in accounting, you're going to get the icons, the applications, the files, the reports that apply to accounts. Okay? If you're an admin, you're going to receive a whole different view based upon your permissions. Now, we can deliver things from the public cloud, virtualized applications, published applications off a terminal server or Citrix server, HTML apps, and then we'll also connect back to a whole bunch of different types of file storage, the most common being your SAN. And then we do have a web reporting engine that allows you to create forms and reports by pointing back to any JDBC, ODBC database. And then think of it like Crystal Reports, but web. So the other cool thing about web reports is you can use identity, so that identity that's used from the directory in your reports. So let me give you an example from a school. A teacher can receive reports about students in his or her class. The principal can receive reports based upon who they are of the school. And then you could have a superintendent that could see the whole district. So web reports, web storage, any app, any public app, all delivered out, single signed on, back to that end user. So for the end user, it doesn't matter whether they're on their phone, their tablet, their desktop, at home, wherever they're at, they log in and they get what they should get, right? The stuff that they need to do their job delivered to them. The key thing, it does not require a VPN, okay? So in that architecture, we had to add that it doesn't require VPN because it just wasn't obvious, and it's a key portion because and I saw one of the sessions at BriForum. No one likes VPNs, right? We like them in IT, but from an end user's perspective, it's a pain. And from an IT perspective, it's a pain as well, right? We got to get it out there, we got to manage it, etc. So this is the architecture. We're going to give you a quick demo so we can sort of cement it in, then we'll open it up for questions. Now, to do the questions, we are going to have a little fun, and it's going to be pick on the marketing guy. Does anyone here listen to NPR Car Talk? Anyone listen to Car Talk? Okay, one of my favorite things about Car Talk is when they have Stump the Chump, and that's when the guys get to go back and see if their recommendation on how to fix the customer's car, if it actually worked, right? So what we're going to do at the end of all this, we're going to get our marketing guy up here, and you guys can ask him any technical question you want about web network, how it works. And if you can stump him, if he gives an answer, we'll have Tony, the architect, as the validator. If you can stump him, then Tony will confirm that, and the first 6 people get a $2 bill. So we'll give away cash if we can stump the chump. Once we go after that, we've got some other little things. We've got Brian's book, The VDI Delusion, and then some little things to hold your phones. But the goal is to hopefully get you to ask some really technical questions. We do have, we'll do it in a fun way, but really we brought Tony so you could ask any technical question you'd like. Tony's a founder and architect of the solution. Okay? So let me give you a quick demo. Okay, so to think back to this architecture diagram, this is, I'm just in Chrome. I'm going to hit a web page. This URL is pointing back to our server farm in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Okay, so this is our internal version of Web Network, and we call it WebNet. Okay, so I'm going to go back and hit WebNet. These are my AD credentials. I'm going to type that in, and that's going to hit that web relay. It's going to say, oh, Ben, he's the president of the company. Here's what he gets. And that's based upon my group membership. Now, to give you a better idea of how this works, I'm going to give you the scenario of us coming into Lenovo. Okay, we were acquired December 26th by Lenovo, And we have one IT guy, his name's John, and he's also our support guy. So he does all our internal IT and support. And Lenovo came to him during the M&A process and said, look, we've got all these services that we provide from a big company perspective, right? They've got HR, they've got travel, they've got an intranet, a directory, an IT request system, a password reset system, all these web services that they wanted to provide to us as employees. Now, we're located in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Carmel, Indiana, Utah, and then we have employees all over the place. So Lenovo was trying to figure out how to deliver these services to us. Now, one way would have been, the normal way would give each of us a VPN and basically make us log in through the VPN and then teach us where all these URLs were in the company to get these services, right? That's sort of the normal thing. And as we've done this demo, we did this demo for Lenovo employees, and they about freaked out because they didn't know all these services existed because no one had ever really shown them in one consistent UI. And then we did it without having to connect through the VPN. So if you're a Lenovo employee, you'd feel this a little bit more. But let me give you a quick demonstration. So I'm in this user interface. You can see that we can do swipe. So it works on a tablet-type device. It also, we have menus, so it'll work if I've got a mouse and keyboard. So SWIMP is Stoneware Employee. That's where most of our menus are. And so our John, our IT guy, he went and added an icon called Lenovo. And we put all of the services that Lenovo now is going to offer to us from an IT perspective in this directory. Now you can see I do have the Lenovo VPN here, but it's disconnected. So I'm going to do all of this without ever connecting back to Morrisville, Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm not going to ever get on their network. But all the services they have in their private cloud and their public cloud services are all going to come to me as if I were sitting in Morrisville or on the VPN. So probably the easiest one to show, let's go to HR. And one of the first things as a new Lenovo employee is, do we show up in the directory? So normally to access, think about the architecture diagram. This is an internally developed web application that you have to be authenticated to the domain and be on the network to access. And I just logged in, it single signed me on, and it just shows up when I click on the directory. Now, again, the goal is to make it seem really simple like that. But if you're a Lenovo employee and you're remote, it's not that simple because you usually have to get connected, get a username and password, type it in, and first of all, you even have to know what the URL is. We abstract all that and really make it super simple. Just click on an icon. Okay? So there's the employee directory. You can search it, and you're good to go. So that's an example of an internally developed web app. Let's look at one, Workday. Do any of you use Workday for your... Workday is a public web application, okay, that Lenovo uses. And this is, it's this big Flash application that we use for expense reports. A whole ton of HR things come through Workday. It's a really important app within Lenovo. And again, I would have had to be logged into the VPN, and I just get it, and it comes proxied to me just by clicking on an icon. Single signed on to a Flash site. So that's an example of a public app. Any others that you think would be interesting, guys, from the travel site? So the travel site's another example of it's almost a hybrid. Lenovo has worked with travel online booking with a company called HRG, and so they have their own travel site that you normally have to go to. Again, it was another identity. That identity wasn't my AD credentials. It would have been another identity that I had to type in a username and password. Instead, it just logged me in, and I'm there. Okay? So it really has made, we're eating our own dog food here. It has made our life way simpler. And from an M&A perspective, we came in, and all of a sudden, all Lenovo's IT services are available to us immediately. And again, the Lenovo people, one, they don't know where all these things at. There's this thing, an intranet site called Lenovo Central, and they basically go to that site and search this massive website to try to find things that they need. And we've consolidated it down to this simple, look at the key things and just click on an icon. So it really has made a difference to our everyday life in terms of making it simpler to be a Lenovo employee. Okay? Let's give you a couple other, so this is WebNet. Let's give you another demo. I'll log out here and go to another URL that will demo a couple other things. So this is our demo site. We'll log in as Rick. Now this back end is all the same that's running on WebNet. And we wanted to give you an idea of how customized this can be. So this is that same back end, but a totally different user interface on top of it. And we've changed all these menus, right? It's totally configurable. And I wanted to show you a couple other things from that architecture diagram. Now, one of the things we said we could do was deliver a published application. So here's Windows Excel. Now, I could be on my iPad. We have some enabling technology called WebRTP, which is a HTML5 WebRTP viewer. And I'm connected back to a terminal server, which is behind the firewall through WebRTP that quickly. Now, just launching it is cool, but we can do better than that. We have a file system. Let me use search and type files. Okay, we'll show you both views. We'll go to the legacy one. So we've got a file system, and this file system is going to connect me back to our SAN back in Fort Wayne. And I'm going to go to my home directory. We can connect to other file systems like SugarSync, but I'm going to go to my home directory, and I'm going to look at this Word doc. Now, one of the things that this application allows you to do is IT can think of the best method or the best experience for an end user on a particular device. Because we know what device you're on, where you're coming from, whether you're wireless or wired, are you inside the network, outside the network, because we know all these things, we can allow IT to use those parameters to make intelligent decisions on the best experience for the end user. Now, usually an end user just clicks on the icon and goes. I'm going to show you what can really happen, but I'm going to show you what you can line out in the parameter. So to edit this Word doc, I can use a local application, a terminal server, I can go out to Zoho, or I can just view it in Chrome. Now, you can set up that decision tree so that the end users don't have to choose these things. They just click, and if they're on their iPhone, and the best experience would be just Chrome or Safari, it would just open it up, then you could have it do just that. So let's do terminal server first. So let's edit this document. It's going to go out, establish the connection through WebRTP, and then it's going to bring it down, and let's make a change, say, we'll just put it WebRTP. Okay? Now when I save this, it's going to clean up this session, and it's going to automatically put that file back into the file system without the end user having to download it, save it, and then put it back. So it just did it. So let's show you, let's open it with a local application this time. So this time it's going to download that file. It's going to open it up in Word, and you can see we've got our WebRTP change, and we'll say local. Okay, now when I save this and I close it, what's going to happen is it's automatically going to save it to the right place. Right? Usually when this happens, you download it, you work on it, then you have to upload it someplace. And that, again, it's hard for end users. Finally, I can show you a public application. We'll use Zoho. So we've done some cool integration with Zoho. Zoho is like an online office application, and it's going to use a public web app. It's going to bring it in, use our file system, and I can make a change and say Zoho. If I could type. And then we'll save that. I think it just automatically saved that. Whoops. There we go. Okay, so when I exit out of that, now that's saved. So, And then finally, I could just view it. It's just going to download it. Okay, so the idea is that they can use this file system to get back to your corporate network where you want them to go, right? You don't want them going out to Dropbox, or you can provide a super easy way for them to get at their files from any device. Now, it does act as a web dev server, so it will work on an iPhone or any web dev enabled device, so you can get back and it basically becomes a web dev server. Let me show you the other interface just really quick so you can see what else it can look like. This is the new one we've worked with. And the old interface required Java, and this new one doesn't. So again, same back end, but we can make it look a lot different and much more touch-friendly. Okay? That's the file system. Let me see. Let me show you one last demo here. This is Lenovo Reach. So this is Lenovo's new public cloud that will be coming out this week. So in this one, Lenovo didn't want the end users to go out to a browser. They wanted to basically ship an agent embedded on a Lenovo devices, and that gets them back to the same web page. So it's sort of a hybrid application. This product will be available for free to anyone. All you have to do is sign up for a Lenovo ID, and I'll show you what it does here. So I'm going to log in. This is actually my account out on Lenovo Reach. Again, this is using all the same backend that we've used with Web Network. This is actually going to hit some servers on Amazon. So it's hitting Amazon, and in this model, you can see it looks a little bit different. I've made the icon smaller, and Lenovo includes an application selector, so they've done a bunch of partnering with third-party cloud service providers, so you can see what category of software you want to add to your, whether it's business, productivity, shopping, travel, and you can add those to your desktop. And when they're added to your desktop, this becomes a way to make sure, basically a password manager. So if I click on, what's one? Facebook. So Facebook, it's going to single sign me on to Facebook, and I don't have to remember my password. And that's going to work across my iPhone, my iPad, my tablet too, any device I've got. Okay. You can also add tiles, like I added this, you notice I like windsurfing, so I added this Utah Wind Riders. This was not a tile that existed inside of Reach, but I was able to add that tile and then teach it how to single sign on to this application. So to add a tile, all you do is long press and add tile, and you can add any tile that you'd like. So the other thing that you get as part of Reach is the file system, and they've done a deal with SugarSync, so you get 5 gigs up on SugarSync, and it is all accessible from Reach. So you can get to your local file system and as well as SugarSync. So that's the initial. Reach really becomes a platform that Lenovo can add additional things to, but this is what the initial product will be. Okay? So that gives you an idea, hopefully gives you a better idea of what we do and what our software can be used for, why Lenovo purchased us. So I think it's now time in the presentation to play Stump the Chump. So we'll get these guys to turn the application on, and I'm going to go back to this architecture diagram, and we'll let you guys ask a question to Greg, and Tony here will validate if he's telling the truth or not. So this is, we get to actually see if a marketing guy knows what he's talking about. So any questions about web network and the architecture? Who's going to be brave here first? Right here.
This is no VPN, and I know you guys will freak out and something like that. So what is actually creating the pseudo VPN tunnel? Basically, you're doing a two-factor authentication in here. Is it the web relay that's actually replacing, let's say, a Cisco ASA or something like that, or are you doing something else?
So we are using the SSL encryption that's built inside the browser. And then the relay also, I think, plays a part in that. Is that correct, Tony?
So Tony, do you want to answer that question? Why don't you get the...
Oh,
Yeah, let's get some detail. That was pretty high.
you're going to give him $2 anyway. So the web relay really is your entry point into anything you need to do, and everything we do is over 80/443. So for access to like terminal server applications and that sort of thing, we do everything through WebRTP, which again goes back through, that's our own HTML5 RDP client. So that goes back through the web relay. Obviously for public applications, you wouldn't come back through the relay just to do the single sign-on and that's it. I guess, do you have a specific application?
Basically, we have our web portal, if you will. Basically, we log into web Cisco SA and then basically a landing page. Basically, we're actually logging into that ASA with a two-factor authentication, and then following that up with additional credentials our stuff in the network.
So the stuff in the network is internal web applications? Okay.
So to me, I'm looking at this with, I love the idea of being able to basically just sign in your device and basically that's enough for you to get in, but just really trying to understand the security behind this, because that would be the first question that pops up between our network and our security folks. Is, okay, are we secure, or basically are we opening up a big hole in our environment from outside?
Right. So internal web applications do all go back through the web relay. Basically, it's a reverse proxy, and your security is controlled right there. So there's still no additional holes through the firewall or anything like that. Your internal web servers are not accessible directly from the internet, so that everything really is kept internal.
So it's basically channeled through that web relay.
Correct.
Effectively, that's creating the info back into your infrastructure.
Right.
That's easy.
Right.
So I don't know if you attended Brian's and Gabe's talk yesterday, the 5x15, is that what they called it? Where they talked about, they basically talked about securing just the resources. This is basically an implementation of what they were talking about yesterday. And many times, a lot of our customers feel like their security posture is improving because with the VPN, you're actually getting an IP address back to your network, right? And if you can get back to the network, then you can get anywhere. In this case, when you log into the web desktop like I did here, I had an IP address here on this network. I never received an IP address back on our home network. And so if I was able to hack the web relay, that connection would be severed and I wouldn't be able to get back into our company. So from a security perspective, this has been tested by, because Lenovo's using this for their public cloud, this has been tested by a bunch of third-party security firms, and all of our customers over the last 13 years, we've had some pretty security-conscious customers that have taken a look at it, and they like the two-tier architecture model from a security perspective. Plus, they can add two-factor authentication on any of those internally developed apps that your internal guys may not have added two-factor authentication to. They can basically wrap it and use the two-factor authentication to then access any internally developed web app that may need additional security. So thanks for your question. Okay, we'll give the mic back to Greg. I think there were some other questions.
No, I was just actually going to point out exactly what you said, that actually this kind of model is more secure because you're not exposed to the entire network. I think VPNs, it's just rather be more secure because of encryption and all this kind of stuff goes on. But the reality is, if somebody's user credential is compromised, it's compromised. It doesn't matter, if they're just logging into this, but if they know where the VPN is and they're logging out to access to
To everything. Correct. We'll give him $2 for that answer. That was a good one. Thank you. Okay, next question. Yeah.
So
Right. So the question is, where are the passwords stored? Greg.
So the passwords are stored. It depends. If we can store them in AD as an object, they are all stored in AD as an object. Whether they're if you can tie into AD directly through the application, we'll store it there. If not, we have a lockbox. Lockbox technology encrypted, so you actually have to enter your password, your credentials in one time, and then every time from then on, it'll be presented to the service or the application and log you in.
Ooh, is that a good answer, Tony?
The lockbox is an object on the directory. Is that right? So in my defense, right? He goes, but I'm in marketing, so is pretty good. That's like the truth in marketing.
Yeah, so like Greg said, for anything that's internal that already uses Active Directory credentials, we just use your identity in Active Directory. Anything that is not tied into Active Directory, we store in a lockbox, which is actually stored in an attribute on your user object in the directory. So we encrypt that. All of that stuff's encrypted, and it's stored with your user object in the directory.
I think Greg did a pretty good job on that. That was,
That's why I said, yeah.
Okay. Oh, they want us to repeat the questions. Great. Next question. I saw one over here first, and then we'll come over here. So the question was scale?
Yep.
So the question is,
going through
the web relay, is scale a problem?
No, because we're using web technologies. We actually have the ability to have, we have one of our customers who's actually tested the ability to have up to 4,500 concurrent users all logged in through the relay. And then if you have an issue or you feel like you need more bandwidth, then you would add more relays or more web network servers in the data center to handle that traffic.
That's a pretty good answer. I don't know.
Awesome. Pretty good
If you
answer.
want clarity on that, that was pretty good. Yes. Yeah. The question was, can you load balance those? And yes.
Yes.
So yeah, basically you can have multiple web network servers, multiple relays, and put a load balancer in front, and that's how Reach, Lenovo's new product, will handle millions of users. And most of our customers on the public side of the business, right, most public school networks are fairly large, 80 to 120,000 users on the system. So they put multiple relays and servers all the time. Good question. Okay, it was over here.
Yeah, so with the web desktop login, in terms of a timeout session, is there a timeout session enabled in that? And if so, is it, I guess, customizable so that you can change the timeout session?
Yes, there is. The question is, when you log into your web desktop, is there a timeout function and is it customizable? And yes, there is a timeout function, and yes, it is customizable.
There it is. Wow, marketing guy knows what he's talking about.
I think that was kind of a softball, actually.
We're just paying for questions now.
I feel pretty good about that one.
Over here.
Do you support SAML for authentication, and if so, what version?
Crap. Okay,
Question. Ask the question.
do we support SAML, and if so, what version? We do actually support SAML. I don't know the version, so I'm half correct here.
He is correct about supporting it. We are a SAML identity provider. We do SAML 2.0.
So when
Kind of an easy version one, there aren't a lot of versions of it, but that was the only way I could stomach it.
Nice job. So when you think about web network and our single sign-on engine, basically over the past 13 years, boy, we've had to add more and more and more ways to do single sign-on because it's a complex problem. You have everything from shibboleth to SAML to form, OAuth, basic, and we basically had to keep up and expand that single sign-on engine. What we've done here lately is to do we've added a new method that we call Web Pass, which is it basically, if all those other methods we can't get to work, it basically do a form fill and click the submit button. So think of it as a robust, mature, single sign-on engine platform. Okay.
If I don't know, you didn't show the Google, but we have in our demo we have access to the Google applications, and those are all set up to use SAML to do authentication.
Let me make sure I'm still logged in here. I've got Google in here as well. Okay, so when I click on, I could Gmail or Google Drive, it's going to use that SAML method to get there. Okay, next question. We've got some books and some phone holders. So we ran out of cash? Right. We ran out of cash. Maybe there's going to be no more questions after that. Question right here.
So does web network prevent a corporate resource, let's say a file, from going out into public cloud? I mean, in the sense, copy paste, sending something to Dropbox, so I'm not sure I saw that architecture.
Yeah, good question.
So does web network prevent you from copying a file to a local source or to a cloud source? I believe the answer is two-part to that, and I think it's no, it doesn't today, but we are actually working on that.
You want to talk about?
No, you can go ahead.
Yeah, no, we do not today. One of the things that we are working on, though, is, and it will be part of the agent that you saw that we're using with Reach. We will have the ability to pull things down and to sandbox them so that if it's on a local device, we'll keep it encrypted and that sort of thing, so that if they're not authenticated into web network, they can't, somebody else can't just walk up to the device and get access to it. And the other thing is then we will prevent you from copying the file itself somewhere else, but obviously, I mean, that you still have limitations there. There's, if you launch Word and copy and paste it off to somewhere else, there's nothing we can do about that.
Great question. Thank you. I think you get a choice between the book and the phone holder. Any other questions? Right here.
This kind of goes against what Ryan was talking about, that 5 by 15 thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way to maybe limit the options available in applications or services through this, depending on what type of device you're using? Because if you're using an iPhone, you might not necessarily be
Absolutely.
edit an Excel document.
So the question was, is there a way to limit what shows up? Because we talked about how we have a consistent interface, right? So is there a way to limit what shows up depending on the device? So is it device specific? It is indeed. You can actually set up profiles. So we understand, Web Network understands when you log in what device you're using, if you're inside or outside the network. There's a bunch of different attributes or characteristics of the machine that are passed to our service. And so we can do that. So a great example would be, terminal services, Excel on your iPhone. Technically, yeah, we can do it. We could leave a tile on there that somebody could hit, but it's just going to generate more issues and more questions than fix any problems that people think that it should fix. So in a case like that, we could absolutely say, if you come in on an iPhone, that tile doesn't even show up for you.
Well, just to add a little bit to that, we've worked with Intel, jointly with Intel and Lenovo, to create what we call the cloud-ready client, and that allows. It's basically a third-party API that allows you to look at parameters on the box and pass those up to web applications. So memory, how you're connected, speed of the connection, processor, all those types of hardware parameters can then be passed up to a web application and fed into web network that then you can make intelligent decisions on how to best provide the best experience to end users.
And we use that with intelligent application delivery as well. So when we make decisions about which applications to launch, as an administrator, you may set up, well, we have 4 different options, but if somebody comes in on an iPad, we may not want them to use, a local version of something. So we do account for the device when we're doing intelligent application delivery as well.
Great, thank you. Well, you guys have been good so far. Any other questions we have from the audience? Yeah, over here.
It's not technical, but what was some of the Lenovo strategy for acquiring you? Was it to use internally or as a value add to other services? I'm just curious how it fits into their...
Yeah, so there's those two ways that I mentioned in the presentation. One, Lenovo's going to basically help us sell and have a worldwide channel for web network. Two, they're using web network to create their public cloud, which is Reach. Okay, and then internally, what's happened, their internal IT, they weren't part of the M&A discussion. But as we've given that demo and Lenovo employees have seen how easy it is for us to access Lenovo applications, the IT group has been basically forced into providing web network to Lenovo. So that's underway. So we have several projects. It's been rolled out to things like the board. The board wanted to go paperless. So, you know, they bring their tablet 2s in and they can get at an instance of web network. But that, we've had partner portals opened up. So Lenovo's partners, like their distribution partners, are starting to use it. And then we will roll it out to Lenovo internally. Question here, and then we'll go in the middle.
Is there a way to relate, link, or have dependencies of multiple applications that are inside here? Maybe a simple example might be Word and Outlook. So I'm inside Word, I launch it, that's easy to do through here. But now I need to send that document. Can it directly launch the Outlook app that is also provisioned?
Okay, so the question was, can you set up, can web network handle, using multiple applications for tasks? So if you opened up a Word document, you edited it, and then could you send it using Outlook? I'm going to say yes on that, but I think I'm cheating because I think if you're using a local application and you had Outlook installed and you opened up Word, then you use the little send button, it's going to work that way, and that has nothing to do with web network. I don't know if you, and I believe that if you use the terminal services version, that would be the same case. So, in a case like that, I think we're just using or using the capabilities of the actual application itself. There's no difference. Web network doesn't do anything magical behind that. In other things, I believe I think there is a decision tree that you can set up to if then this kind of thing. So, is that correct, Tony?
Yeah, we don't do anything. You would have to have if it's on a terminal server, if you're delivering it from a terminal server, like Greg said, it's basically the capabilities of the application. If Outlook's there, then yes, we would.
Probably the one thing that helps with that in an iOS world is WebDAV, right? Most applications now allow you to open up a WebDAV share, and this basically looks like a WebDAV share. That web storage, it looks like a WebDAV share to all the iOS apps. Great, there was a question in the middle.
So it would be, we have a mixture of both, but I think a lot of people use it for remote. So they have a mobile workforce, a sales force, for example, and it needs to get access back to their, their data center. This is the solution that they would use. So, but in an instance like a school, so we have a lot of schools that use it. They use it internally. This is a replacement. Austin ISD is one of our larger customers. I think we have 90,000 users there, and everything goes through a product, their product called My Austin Cloud, and My Austin Cloud is basically web network. It's their version of web network. Everything runs through it. So every application that they buy has to be web-enabled, or there has to be some delivery mechanism for them, because the only way that they can access it is through web network. They do not put individual programs on, other than I think Office and a few tools other than that, onto their devices now.
Yeah, I think it really depends. A lot of Probably the primary driver right now, the two things that are driving our business from a positive perspective are consumerization, right, and mobility. So that does drive a lot of the initial purchases. But once they solve that initial problem, they realize that there's a whole bunch. It almost becomes a platform to develop applications, because the web forms and web reporting capability means you can, point it at any database, bring data in, and then do almost like a data repository and report out on it. So it starts with mobility, but then it moves into other areas. Yeah, go ahead.
So if it's not, there's not web enabled, if there's an application that's not web enabled, classic client server, we may deliver through ZenApp now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some clever way to give them access to that?
Nope. So the question is, if there's a legacy application out there that's today currently being delivered via something like ZenApp, how is there a different or clever way to deliver it? No, you would still need the ability to deliver that application through ZenApp. We would use ZenApp to deliver it. So it would be maybe you would have a tile for that application. When they clicked it, then. Well, it wouldn't be. I don't think you would put the receiver on there. You just put the actual application, and when you clicked it, we would use ZenApp to deliver it. So it wouldn't. I don't think you would have to launch the receiver.
Is that correct, Tony?
Would still need a receiver.
Accessible through this one.
Yes,
That's
absolutely
correct.
accessible
We-
through this.
We would see ZenApp as complementary, right? We would consider ZenApp as a published app, right? It would be complementary solution where they would see it as a tile, they'd click on it, and it would come down and run. Correct.
Question over here, your web RDP wouldn't have that, I would still be the same.
If we're talking RDP, we can do RDP. Otherwise, yeah, you would need the Citrix receiver.
So if you could deliver just off a terminal server. Great. Any other questions? Right here.
Is anyone using this in higher ed to deliver services to students?
Yeah, absolutely. We have lots of higher ed customers. One interesting thing that they're doing in higher ed is they're basically extending the hours that labs are available by making them available remotely. Because higher ed has lots of applications. It may be a statistics application or some CAD application that they want that's in a lab that a student needs access to. So that the students will come in through web network, hit one of the labs, and then that'll basically make that computer or that application available to them remotely. But then also in higher ed, you've got students, professors, admins, you've got the gamut, and I don't know how many applications you deliver out, but if it's anything like Austin delivers over 700 applications out to parents, teachers, students, etc. So the first time I went there, I was just amazed because they basically extended their network out to parents. They'd always been wanting to, a parent needs to pay for there's a web service that allows them to pay for school lunch. Well, how did they get that out to the parents? We actually have a self-registration where it'll create an AD account for them, and then they can get access to all the services they need.
Hey, Ben, I also want to talk about, Ben mentioned the forms and reports. We actually have a customer who, it's a school district, but they used to have 70,000 disciplinary referrals a year. They're a big school district, but they have 70,000 referrals a year that all used to be handled by hand. You would have to fill out the student's information, then what the problem was, then you inter-office mail it to a person who sat at the district office, and this poor lady's job all was to sit there and enter all that information into the computer. So what they did was they through web network, they built a form that basically you start typing in the student's name. It then shows you the list of all the students that meet that criteria, and then you choose, so Greg Tan. So then all my information gets populated into that form. All the teacher does is then write up the referral, what exactly is Greg was late for class, she was chewing gum, whatever the case is. Hit send, it starts the workflow, goes to the discipline person at the campus, they hit send or approve, and then it hits that lady now who doesn't have to retype it or anything like that. So basically, they've saved one person's job in terms of what that person was doing. So that's an example of them using it sort of as a platform to be able to deliver an application almost, if you will, that saves their teachers' time.
Okay, I think we appreciate, if you have any other questions, we'd love to answer them. We'll stay here afterwards, but we appreciate the interaction. Just to finish up, I want to take you back to that passion, right? I think this is a super interesting time to be in IT, and I just encourage all of us, us included, to really think about how we can simplify and make that user experience for our end users easier so that they'll go through us and not find ways around us. Thank you very much and appreciate the time.
Thanks, Ben. And also, if you notice, there was a CD on there that contains marketing material for us, and there's some data sheets on there. There's also feature guide and this, I think a white paper. And if you know, Ben mentioned earlier, we have this Land School product, which is classroom management software. We actually have a 30-day trial on there if you're interested in looking at that as well.